we are. Hey guys, hi. Sorry about that. My Instagram was tripping. I guess I need to sit here and wait a little bit for people to log on and get with the program. You know. Oh, thanks for the love, Josh. Stoked that you guys are here. This feels like we get to connect almost like in real life, but just on the internets, you know? Hey everybody, hello. Glad that we have the internet right now, that we have power and computers. Friends, hello, hi. Welcome to the chat. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys give me the little hearts if you guys can hear me okay and everything's going good on the, do you guys know how to do the little hearts or thumbs up or whatever is going on? Can you guys hear me? Hey, Mike. Isabel, you guys are both on your own individual screens watching me. That's great. Okay, audio's good, video's good. So, everybody's afraid of getting sick and killing people, and what a time to be alive. So, my whole idea with doing this was that I have all of these books, and here is just a small amount of books from one of my favorite photographers, Alec Soth. Super inspirational dude. I've learned a ton of things from him for, almost 10 years now. I've been a big fan. And one of my favorite things to do when I'm up here, hey guys that are just joining, I'm just sort of introing what's happening and allowing some more time to come in. Friends, hello. Shoot, I guess I need to wait a little bit longer as people are coming in before I even start to introduce this properly. Hello, friends. We have 13 people in the chat right now. Woo. It's way more people than I was even expecting. I was thinking there was going to be 3. So, thank you for joining me as I attempt to be a nerd. More friends coming in. Some people leaving. That's all right. So here I am. I was going to share one of my favorite photo books. And I have all these other ones as well. Because that's my favorite thing to do. It's I have these things and I think they're interesting and it's fun to share them with other people. And so we can all learn and grow and look at interesting stuff and feel feelings together. And so here we are. We're on the internet because I can't do it in person with all of you. And I hope that you guys are all staying safe and taking this seriously. This book that I was going to talk about today is called Broken Manual. And the whole idea that Soth was trying to do with this book was he was really interested in this idea of people, of people running away. Schultz, hey, tons of friends joining in. Gonna be an art nerd, talk about photo stuff. Books. Book we're talking about, just to go over it again, Broken Manual. It's supposed to be a manual for how to run away and isolate and be a loner, and it's about the people that enjoy doing that. And so this felt like a really appropriate time to do that. A little funny. The whole gimmick behind the book, though, is that it's a manual that is broken. Doesn't work. So that's kind of the tongue-in-cheek aspect of it. So when this book first came out in 2010, I bought it in 2013 when I graduated from college. It was a graduation gift from my aunts and uncles, and everybody pitched in, and we bought it on eBay. And there's only 1,000 of these that got made, and it's 10 years later now, and it's super rare. The artist has said that he doesn't even really want to reprint it. Part of the whole idea of of people running away and becoming enigmas is the creation of the mythos, and the idea that this book doesn't really exist and has some type of mythos around it as well is like really interesting to him. So he hasn't reprinted it, and even his discussions around it are kind of interesting. He's pretty distanced from it. Hey guys, thanks for joining the chat. Still kind of introing what the hell's going on here, and talking about Broken Manual, the project, and the rationale, the reason why. I've got all my other books here from Alec as well. And if you guys want to talk about any of those, I'm super stoked to. My whole intention with this is that it would be a bit of a chat, and it'd be like I get to share this book that's super rare with all of you guys, and we could go through the pages and talk about anything that's interesting. So if you have any questions or comments or whatever, just type it into the chat and I'll address it as best I can. I'm not like a superhuman like insider information about any of this. I just pay attention and do research because I'm just a curious cat. So when this book first came out, the limited edition of the book came in this hollowed out other book. And so the whole idea was that it hides just like the people do. And I didn't get one of those limited edition ones, but I like to keep mine in my university bookstore bag so that it hides on my shelf, so I feel kind of like that. And here it is, and I guess it's mirrored for you guys, so sorry about that, but this seemed like the best way to do the video so that I could put my iPad on the table and be hands-on and yada, 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 not just have a video of my tabletop. One of my favorite things about this book are all of the little details to it. Right here, it says Lester's Broken Manual. Lester is the co-author, who is just a pseudonym that Alec created in order to stand in for this character who was running away or knew how to run away. And so all of the details on here are, they look like they're done by hand. And there's all of these little stains and blemishes. And this is a distorted portrait of Alec Soth, the artist, on the back. I'm kind of just speaking, I don't know exactly who's all in the chat right now and how familiar you are with this artist. So I'm just trying to speak to all the people that I'm assuming don't know any of these details. So the photographer, Alec Soth, he made this abstracted self-portrait, and he printed it and took it to a gun range and shot it, and then that became his portrait of himself for the book, which is pretty funny and interesting. Yeah, love the binding and like this sort of Sharpie-ish writing, and it's like the binding feels like it's taped together, which is great. And I guess without further ado, let me dive in. And I guess my intention was I'm going to do this kind of like kindergarten teacher style, so that you can have a face to look at as well as the book, and it's not just like a some floating head or a tabletop thing. So the other thing that's really cool about this as I start to open it is that he made it so it looked like there's all these Xeroxed pages. There's different colors. There's green and pink, and as well as all these other beautiful photo papers as well, which is really my favorite part about the book, is just the production. So this first page, what's funny is this is a signed edition, and I feel so silly. I didn't even notice his signature in here for like till recently. I've had this book for like 7 years, and I only realized it was signed like a year ago. But yeah, this little diagram shows like a little hiding place where you could hide under the stairs, just like Harry Potter. And here's the introduction. And it's, again, like all of these amazing details where it's like scribbled in and it looks like someone's really done all of this by hand. If you're just joining, I'm just starting to dive into this book, being a total photo nerd, talking about one of my favorite photographers, Alec Soth, and this book that was super influential for me and contemporary photography. Yo, welcome, more people. Hello, hello. Just starting to dive in. I don't really feel like I want to like be reading from all of these different pages here. But I feel like maybe I can give like a quick little something that's interesting out of it. So the intro is kind of interesting, so I guess let me read that. It says, introduction. Since you're reading this, I'm guessing you're a broken man. By now, you're probably two men. You feel like you're living two lives, right? In one life, you haul yourself out of bed each day to fulfill another set of dreary obligations. In the other life, you dream. Whether you dream about the woods of your childhood or the neighbor in the lycra jogging outfit, the essence of your dream is this. You crave escape. But escaping isn't easy, is it? What are you going to do about the wife and the tax man? You can't just go tiptoeing off in the tulips, can you? If you want to be free, you need to make the break. Let this book be your guide. Over the last few years, I've studied the experts of escape. Let us now praise these lonely men, hermits and hippies, monks and survivalists. These men have picked up plenty of nuggets. But this book is more than a dummy's guide to escape. I aim to stoke the dream fires, along with my steps of disappearing. I've included a number of photos by my comrade Alec Soth. When you look at these scenes, try to put yourself in the picture. Visualize your new life on the lam. Before you know it, you might just make the break. Happy trails, Lester B. Morrison. And again, for those of you that don't know about Alec Soth and this whole project, is he created the pseudonym Lester B. Morrison, which was his identity for this person who ran away and escaped society. And Lester B. Morrison is also the same acronym LBM for Little Brown Mushroom, which is his publishing imprint company. And they were created at about the same time. And on top of that, as a little tidbit, again, before I dive all the way in, now that people are starting to join, I have this other book, House of Coats, that was released by Little Brown Mushroom, as I was talking about, Alec Soth's printing imprint. So little brown mushrooms is actually a term to identify, I believe it's poisonous mushrooms. Those are the ones that are hard to identify which types of mushrooms they are, whether they're psychedelic or not, or actually poisonous. So you really want to avoid eating little brown mushrooms if you can help it. That's another type of virus that you're not going to recover from well. And this whole book, on a whole secondary side note, is about Lester and his history and his past. And it's like all shot on these like disposable cameras. And it's super interesting and very, very sad. Straight up, very sad. Okay, so back into Broken Manual. Let's start looking at pictures, I guess. What up, Cal? So after the intro goes into this, so I'm just going to try and, again, do this sort of kindergarten style, and I'll show you guys the pictures, and we can talk about whatever seems interesting. I guess holler in the chat or send me a little emoji or some shit if something's interesting and you have a question or you want me to go back a page. I'm trying to figure this out, and, going to make mistakes. It's all right. We're in this together. This photo is so beautiful. This black and white picture of a man in a ghillie suit hiding in the woods. I'll try and talk about any of these things that I might have some extra knowledge about, especially for people that aren't really familiar with the project. Some of these are just what they are. They're just interesting or beautiful pictures. So part of his whole fantasy of escape, he talks about it often, that at a certain point he just wanted to buy a cave. He didn't take pictures. He was just looking for properties with caves so that he could buy a cave. And he didn't know what he was going to do with the cave, but he just wanted to have one. So again, this whole project is about the idea of escape and really about the impracticality of escape. And I think that whole ambition to buy a cave kind of shows that. So this one is Roman, the Nocturnal Hermit. And again, it just looks like it's written in pencil. So beautiful, attention to detail. And this is like an extreme close-up of a scan of, I'm guessing, a 8x10 photo that he shot. For those that don't know, this photographer shoots all of his pictures on a large format film camera. So it's got like a big accordion, and the film itself is the size of a sheet of paper, almost like this. And so this frame grab, this crop, was probably something like this big on the picture when he took it, and then enlarged it to get this. And his whole goal was to make this disjointed book that all the different image quality, the color, the style of it, like everything jumps around. He wanted it to feel, again, broken, but as the name suggests, a broken manual. So this is step 1. These are instructions on how to get away and escape society. And step 1 is change your appearance. And then it says in parentheses, beard. Just like me. I'm trying to hide. Unless you have the money to go under the knife, this mostly means changing your hair on your head and face. You might consider shaving to keep the DNA to a minimum, but I don't recommend this for a few reasons. And then at the bottom, there's a little subtext that says, long beards are also good for making you less attractive to women. This will be of help in step 7, which is handwritten, like appears to be handwritten again. It's super funny, but also, again, that attention to detail is fantastic. Again, if any of these are particularly interesting and anybody wants me to spend extra time with these, just like drop it in the chat or give me an emoji or whatever, and I'll go and read the whole thing because they're pretty ridiculous. Step 2 on how to escape society is change your gait. When the mushroom hunters come after you, they'll initially be seeing you from afar, and what they'll see in their telephoto lenses is posture and movement. So all of this, what up, BB? This whole book, again, is supposed to be a manual for how to escape society and how to basically become a hermit. And a ton of it is these instructionals that are just super outlandish. And the photographer, the artist, had bought a bunch of these how-to guides, and part of his whole project here was sort of tongue-in-cheek lampooning those. And again, just about the impracticality of escaping in this way that so many people seem to dream about. So this picture it's titled Behind the Save-A-Lot in Murray, North Carolina, where Eric Rudolph was arrested. I personally am not super familiar with Eric Rudolph. I think I recollect that he was like a serial killer. Could be wrong. If you know who Eric Rudolph is and you want to correct me, feel free to drop it in the chat. Yeah. This picture is fantastic. So this is called Frank's View. And basically this is an homage to Robert Frank, who is a Swedish photographer, very famous for making the project The Americans. And in that project, he went to Butte, Montana, and shot a picture through the window at the same exact hotel. And the photographer here, Alec Soth, wanted to go back and take a picture from that same window. The picture that Frank shot is, I guess, widely regarded as kind of a turning point. Or the whole project was really a turning point for photography in America. And so by paying homage to that, I mean, he really was trying to open up the doors to thinking about what that picture means. And when Robert Frank went into this room and shot the picture, it just seemed really, it was abnormal at the time. It wasn't a type of picture that people had taken. And it really became a lot more about these curtains and the idea of the photographer standing in this hotel room taking a picture more than it was about what he was taking a picture of, which, again, had never really been done. There wasn't really that level of subjectivity in photography up until that point. And so I guess Alec was thinking about this lonely view and how much this town of Butte, Montana had changed in the 50 some odd years since Robert Frank had shot that photo. And I was in Montana last year, and I made a point of going to this room, and I shot a picture of the view and of the hotel room, and I took pictures around it as well. And it really did feel like a special place to be. Butte, Montana is a really interesting place because it used to be one of the wealthiest cities in North America. It had the biggest copper mine in North America, and so it was thriving in the early 1900s, closer to the time when Robert Frank was there. But nowadays, the copper mine doesn't exist anymore, and the town is basically in ruins. And the irony is that this picture was interesting originally for Robert Frank because it showed this thriving city through his window, and now the city's nothing. It's ruins. It's just totally decrepit. And when you're there, you can definitely feel that the opioid epidemic has kind of taken hold, and it's really interesting. The irony of it is that that's the reason why that picture was interesting, and yet now that all the tourism in the whole city has died, the one place that is a consistent tourist destination is this hotel room. So another little point about this, there's been some discrepancies about this actual frame and whether or not this was the same window that Robert Frank shot the photo from. This appears to be a couple floors below the hotel room where Robert Frank shot his famous photo out of, because you can tell by the stovepipe is a little higher up in the frame if you're familiar with that. I've got the Americans in the other room, and I meant to have it out here, but I forgot. Whoops. All right, moving on. I really love that picture. Hey guys that are just joining the chat, I'm starting to go through one of my favorite photo books. This is Broken Manual by Alec Soth. And I'm just kind of doing this kindergarten style, going through the pictures and talking about them. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat. This is from Nome, Alaska. And what I really love, again, about the production of this is you can tell like the paper stock versus there's a little gloss to the print. And I wish that I knew more about photo book production and I would know the name of that process or term. Dustin, if you want to enlighten me to what that's called when we've got like the glossy sort of image. Spot varnish, thank you. Grateful that you tuned in just in time to drop that little pearl. Ooh, this one's great. This opens up gatefold. In Georgia. And so this is actually, Alex talks about, this is the first photo that sort of started this whole project for him. He got commissioned to do a project in Atlanta where he just had a really open project, like take pictures of Atlanta. And he wasn't feeling very inspired, and he drove around looking, I think he was talking about this famous bomber. I can't remember who it was now. It wasn't the Unabomber. That comes later in the book. And he stumbled upon this monastery that had these monks. And yeah, it is very Blair Witchy with all the trees and everything. And so we shot a picture of this monk. Again, someone who's just seeking to escape in the wilderness and be lonesome and be alone. And you know, what's interesting, and I think this book is really, or this picture kind of sums it up, is that Alec has this different philosophy than a lot of other photographers have had throughout photo history. A lot of photographers are kind of like Robert Capa, where he always said that if you don't have a good photo, then you need to get closer. And Alec seems to kind of do the opposite. Alec, as a photographer and as an artist, rather than getting closer, takes a step back, or maybe like 10 steps back. And he really kind of comes from, I guess, the school of Edward Weston, of really showing the context of a person based on their space. And he'll oftentimes take a step back, and not only take a step back, but turn to the left as well, which we'll see some examples of shortly in this as the book goes on. This is a beautiful picture of these wild horse by a school bus out in the middle of nowhere, I think in New Mexico. It doesn't necessarily say, but it just feels profoundly empty and lonely. Yeah, Dustin, thanks for stopping in. Super sad picture. And then you've got just a slug going through the snow. This photographer, hey guys for joining in. If you're just joining in, this is one of my favorite photo books, Broken Manual by Alec Soth. Just going through the pictures, being a nerd, trying to share this with, it's a very rare book. Not a lot of people have gotten to look at it, so I'm just trying to share something that I have. He talks about that he got tired of trying to make a profound photo. And with this book called Broken Manual, again, he was really just trying to make this book that was broken and that seemed really disjointed and didn't necessarily have to make sense or be beautiful. And so there are some pictures like this where he's like trying to move in the opposite direction. And even though it is like such a gorgeous image in its own ways, it's not really like what you would describe as a beautiful picture to anybody. This one's fun. Pocket Pussy. Again, written in, looks like pencil, and there's even like a little ruler left in here for scale. And this is supposed to be one of the supplies that you would need if you were going to live off the grid. Beautiful tones. It's hard to look at this because it's such a like crazy taboo type of object and something that we're taught, to hide and not discuss and be embarrassed about and yada, yada, yada. But I mean, the tones and the blacks and grays, white, like it's such a gorgeous image. Straight into this homemade knife. Really the opposite of the Pocket Pussy. In some interesting ways, you think about stabbing and penetration, and yeah, that's a good sequence right there. Yeah, covered in snow, just totally isolated in there. I guess that's how maybe we feel right now during quarantine. This one is called Snow Bunny Mountain. So he wasn't attempting to make beautiful, profound images with a lot of these. He was moving away from that. This one says, it's called Branch Davidian Bus. Yo guys that are just joining in, going through one of my favorite books right now, looking at the pictures, talking about the stuff. So again, this is like interesting. He goes from this photo that was taken on this large format 8x10 camera, hey Sarah, with all of this detail and sharp, crisp image, and then he goes right to this extreme crop, which again, like, the film for the camera that he uses is about the size of this page. So to make a crop like this out of one of those pictures, this piece of information on the actual photo was probably about like that big, and then he blew it up to be like this. And again, he was just like this whole book is called Broken Manual. It was about creating a broken book about how to isolate yourself if you're a broken man. And so he oscillates between high resolution, super sharp textured images to fuzzy, you can barely see what's happening. And this is called Frank number 2, which I think means that in that earlier picture, Frank's view, where he's taking the picture out the window, this has got to be from that same view, but a hyper crop from that same place. And then again, we get to one of these like pages that's supposed to look like it's Xeroxed. Thanks for stopping by. Ray, tuning in. Everybody's coming and going. I'm talking about my favorite book, Broken Manual. and it is a manual. Ryan, now that you tuned in, so this guy's pseudonym is Little Brown Mushroom, which is the name of his imprint for production, and he created this whole character, Lester B. Morrison, from the acronym LBM for Little Brown Mushroom. And again, this whole thing is this book is about hermits and people seeking to live off the grid and disconnect. And so on these Xerox pages, he has all of these broken instructions on how to escape from society. And so this is step 3, and it says create a pseudonym, which is great because I was just talking about that. And I'm not going to read this whole thing because it's like a bit of text and people are coming and going and there's a bunch of these, but I'll just read a couple little tidbits. Says, whether you're a monk or a survivalist, the first thing you'll want to do when you leave this world is come up with a new name. Don't use references to your current identity. If your name is Tom Johnson, don't just change it to John Thompson. Leave that broken man behind. And then at the bottom, with regards to his own name, Lester B. Morrison, it says, and in case you're wondering what B stands for, it says, bet you can't find me, you bastards. It's great. And then it jumps from step 3, and it jumps to step 7, which again, for those of you that have just joined in, like one of my favorite parts about this whole book is the production value. And that again, like with these pages, they're on green, they're supposed to look like Xerox copies. And it even looks like there's a pencil with erasure marks here. Like someone hand wrote this, which is fantastic. And so step 7 is avoid women. And just wanted a little bit from that because it's just hilarious. When leaving the world, you have to make some sacrifices. But trading a condo for a cave is easy compared to giving up women. My only advice is simply avoid them. All they'll lead to is disease or disillusionment. But just as there's no denying the urge to communicate, there's no denying the sexual urge. And there's some more interesting stuff in there. And then at the end he says, or maybe Woody Allen said it better, don't knock masturbation, it's sex with someone I love. It's just insane. So again, these are like rules or like guides for how to escape from society and humanity in a broken manual for broken men. Oh my God, this picture is so profound. Super heavy, scary. From Dog Patch, Missouri. And in the documentary, before I did this, I tried to like bone up on my information about it so I could be knowledgeable. And they had this documentary where these film students were following him as he was making this, and he takes them to this house where he shot this picture and another picture later in the book. And can I point out the details that make it scary? You know, it's one of those things. Well, first of all, it's like kind of I guess there's sort of this obvious keep out, which seems really ominous. But I think there's just like a weight to the image within like the contrast and this like the overall density of the blacks. That it's a heavy picture. You can kind of feel it just weighing on you with your eyes. And again, I know it's kind of hard because it's reversed here. But yeah, and then I don't know, there's something about this weird stovepipe too that's like interesting and strange. But I think that for me, that's what really makes this an ominous picture is the density. It just feels heavy. The guy that lived in this house was like definitely a schizophrenic, like delusional dude. And he was talking about his parents when he was a little child they were meth cooks. And he was talking about how by the time that he was 7 years old, he learned that he had to sleep in his clothes because that way if his parents came in to beat him, he could get up and run away. And oh my God, it's so heavy and it's very humanizing because it shows him and he kind of like opens up like an onion And eventually he's like singing to them, and like I said, really humanizing to go from this like detached and distant person that maybe would be worth ridicule to some people at a distance, but to like really open up and show this person who's been hurting is super intense. Right to this picture. So if you're just joining, going through one of my favorite photo books, just being a total photo nerd right now. If you like pictures, then this is interesting. This book is about running away and the desire to run away and isolate. And at this time when we all need to, it seemed appropriate. So this is a picture of a treehouse. I don't know if you can tell from there, but you've got this man hiding right there in plain sight, which I think is one of the interesting parts of this whole project, is the people that hide in plain sight. Then you've got some more sort of supplies for being a broken man and running away. And all of these VHS videos are pretty daunting. It's Bio War, December 31st, Y2K2, imminent military takeover of the USA 2. This crazy stuff. Alone in the wilderness. Yeah, and so he collected these from one of the people he was taking portraits of, who's in the book later on. And in that documentary I was talking about the movie, it shows him, and it shows them looking at these videos in his space that he lives in, his room. And then again, just this weird, just disjointed, it jumps to this picture of the satellite dish with the spot varnish on the image. Gives it this nice little gloss from the page. And then to this picture, a colored picture, which again, like just jumping around with crops and details. And this one's called Ray's Place after the Los Alamos cave experiment. So a lot of this has to do, I guess caves are a running theme for him, and this idea of a place to live for hermits and people that have, I guess, successfully escaped from society. And this one is another one of those gatefolds that opens up, and it's the Arkansas Cajuns backup bunker. And this is actually the guy who had all of those videotapes. And this guy was helping the artist Alec Soth find a cave, because that's one of the things that he wanted to do. At a certain point in photographing this project over the course of years, he stopped taking pictures and he just wanted to buy a cave, which was totally impractical and he wasn't able to do despite this guy's expert help. But again, that's just kind of the impracticality of running away, and that's one of the main ideas of the project. And I love that, again, just such a humanizing image, because it's a little Cajun. I don't know if you can tell, but he's holding a little cat. He's got a little kitten, and this really just humanizes this guy that, even though he's, again, this sort of self-described broken man, or he's put in that box, and he's living in this backup bunker out of this trailer in the middle of nowhere. It's like is still an affectionate, compassionate, caring human being who wants to love and be loved. So he's got this little kitten in his arms. And then from there, goes into one of these pink Xerox-like pages again. And this one is Lester B. Morrison interviewed by Alec Soth. And if you're just joining in, they are the same person. Lester B. Morrison is a pseudonym that Alec Soth created. It's this character he made that ran away, that broke free from society. And so basically, Alec Soth talks about at a later point that this whole interview, it's like he interviewed himself, and it was just, he would lock himself in his studio and get super drunk and create all of these fantasies and crazy ideas and writings about what it would be like to escape from humanity. And this interview is kind of insane. Just moving through it. It's too much to even try to unpack for the few of you guys that are still here right now. And then goes into this cave. Again, caves being a big part of this project and what it means to be a hermit and escape from society. And yeah, if you're still here and you weren't here earlier, again, I'm looking through this book. It's super rare. There's only about 1,000 printed in the first editions. It's 10 years old, and I got it as a graduation present. And so I'm just super lucky to have it and trying to share it with everybody. Everybody that's just joining in right after I just explained what I'm doing, I'm showing one of my favorite books. It's a very rare photo book that only 1,000 exist, and I got it as a gift in 2013 when I graduated from college. And so the book is about being isolated and that desire to be isolated, and I figured what a more appropriate time to talk about this than while we're all quarantined and needing to be isolated. This photo is called The Unabomber's View. And again, it looks like it's written in pencil. Beautiful production details. And the photographer, Alec Soth, again, was no longer trying to make a beautiful picture. He was really trying to run away from that. And the whole idea of this photo is not that this view is so breathtaking and beautiful as most landscapes might be considered. It's that this is what the Unabomber looked at. And he said that the title of the photo, just The Unabomber's View, was enough. And the whole idea is to kind of create that mood and set that up so that when you're looking at this, you kind of think about like what it entails to be so distant from society. And I don't know, Unabomber was an interesting guy, and I guess you could say that a lot of his theories about like what was happening with society and what was going to happen, like he was pretty prophetical. Here's like a houseboat on the water with ice around it. This one's really cool. Just this disco ball that he found hung in the middle of the forest. You know, you can tell that this is someone's space, that someone exists here. They made this, and this is their little solace and a respite, a place to hide out. Very interesting. And then you've got this is a beautiful photo that I don't think that Instagram Live is really going to do justice. But again, you've got this beautiful spot varnish printing. It's glossy photo image on this textured page. And really using depth of field in a pretty extreme manner, which again, the camera on my iPad is not going to do any justice. But just his face is in focus and the rest just falls out in this really beautiful way. As this guy is just sleeping with his head on a rock. And then, so you've got what he calls Lonely Boy Mountain. So again, this photographer at a certain point in this project decided he didn't even care about taking pictures anymore. He just wanted to buy a cave. This, again, just to really max out that idea of running away and being isolated and being a hermit. But I guess he couldn't buy a cave. He couldn't find a cave to buy. And so he hired somebody to make a model of this perfect getaway place for him, which is both the treehouse and then the cave dwelling underneath, where all of the lonely boys live on Lonely Boy Mountain. Then you've got some more instructionals. So again, this is supposed to be a broken manual. It's a manual for how to escape from society. And all throughout the book, he's got these different tutorials on like things that you need to do in order to escape society. And they're on these like Xerox pages, or they're supposed to look like they're Xerox pages. And this one is step 8, create your own language. And in this one, he starts to talk about mushroom hunters and banana slugs and Ted Kaczynski and the snowshoe rabbit. And those things all correlate to pictures in the book that we've kind of gone through, but I'm not going to spend too much time here. Step 9, make your own home mobile. Again, like that whole earlier in the book, there was this bus that was like outfitted with all of this armor and was covered in snow, and this sort of references that. And again, just note on the production value of like the pencil. It looks like someone just wrote this by hand, and it's really interesting. Beautiful production. Okay. Poor connection for a second there. But we're back. So this is my favorite picture in the book, I think. In this picture, I have a little 5x7 printed out of it. And actually, I've got two. I've got one that is from this little postcard series that he made, and I've got it framed on my wall. And I've got another one that I carry around with me everywhere I go in my car because it's so close to me. And it says written on the wall here, "I love my dad, Tony. I wish he loved me." And it's got this guy's like go bag, and I'm not sure if all of you guys are with me from earlier when I went through this picture. This is the inside of this house that he shows earlier, where in the documentary, they went inside the house and they met this guy, and he talked about growing up and his parents being meth cooks and how traumatized everything was. And so this is the outside of the house. Again, for those of you that weren't with us earlier, just this super gripping image of the house. Noah, I don't know if can I add you in? I don't know if that's going to be obnoxious to have you like the double screens and then not be able to like see the pictures. I don't know if I like the double screened things. But send me your comments if you have any in the chat. And so anyway, this is the inside of the house. And again, just some of the crazy details here. It says, "I love my dad, Tony. I wish he loved me," written on the wall. And there's all these marks that they show in the documentary where this guy had just taken a hatchet like all around the house. And it says on the wall here, there's no way you can see it in the video, but it says "they did it." And he talks about like all of these government conspiracies and how he's owed all this money, and such a sad dude, super delusional, schizophrenic for sure. And moving on, boom, this is another super impactful photo that's really famous from this project. And this is out in Joshua Tree, California, and he met this guy that literally lives in this rock formation with a dog, and he's got some guns, and he talks about being in jail. And in that documentary, it really shows this better. It talks about how he basically had to acclimate to survive in prison. And there's a lot of obvious things to have your eyes taken by in this picture and be distracted by. But the real interesting thing is right here. There's this very tiny little, don't mind that, but this very tiny little swastika tattoo, which again, just this symbol of hate and anger that from what you can gather, he had to get tattooed on himself in order to survive through prison. And he doesn't speak like a hateful person. Oh. I lost my video connection, and so I had to like start a new chat. So I am starting a new feed. We'll see if anybody else joins in. People are coming and going. One person's here. Hello. I lost connection for a minute, so I had to restart. And if you're watching this, I'm going to try to put it on like the Instagram stories, maybe on IGTV. And so maybe if you're in the future, apologize for the loss of connection. Oh, this beautiful book. And yeah, this amazing image in this cave that he found. This house made in a cave, and the walls are all painted white to insulate it, I guess. I don't know. And there's like this little closet made in the cave. It's just unbelievable. And yeah, this hiding place, book hollowed out. Which again, if you didn't know, this book itself, the special edition, when it was sold, came in a hollowed out book. So it was a book within a book, just like this, and just really cool. The production value, again, just super, super crazy. You've got a brown recluse spider. Guess I'm going to start to go a little bit quicker because I was really taking my time and milking all these pictures and talking earlier. This is this parking lot with like all of this graffiti written all over the ground. It says Juggalo right here. And a bunch of the other stuff you can't really make out. It's like David and different people's names, but Juggalo was the one that really stands out and I think is kind of funny. Kind of dating and putting a place to where this all happens a little bit in the Midwest, in the middle. This isolated little cabin. Then again, right to this like super tight, hyper crop, fuzzy portrait of some hermit out in the woods. American flag. And then straight into some other instructionals, again with like these handwritten sort of notations. This one is step 10, choose a location. And the biggest decision to make is your retreat location. Every decision has two components, the practical, how to survive, and the spiritual, how to thrive, which is, I think, what all of us are kind of trying to learn how to cope with right now in the quarantine, is how to survive and how to thrive, the practical and the spiritual. And then he breaks down based on different locations, like what you need to do. It's the forest, the hills, the treehouse, the cave, the desert, Alaska, yada, yada, yada. Step 11 is start writing. And so once you begin developing your own language, it's time to start writing. And says you might as well make the most out of this midlife crisis. He talks about J.D. Salinger, and Salinger is one of us. Oh, this is a really cool little sequence right here. This is Edsel's hideaway in spring. It's got this guy hiding in the bushes. And then it says in the summer. So it's the same location. You can tell based on like these little details here. This is like a little Shell station sign. And again, just to kind of go back and forth, it's a little challenging to do here. But there's summer, spring. Again, you got the little Shell station there and the guy hiding there, but he's not there in the summer, or maybe he is. And then you've got the same guy, Edsel's stick. And it's this big, like, 2x4 that I guess he uses as like a tool to protect himself, as like a weapon. And it says written says Leprechaun, and it says, was here November 1, 2006, bitch. JJ, I will kill you. I am no fag. Like, super kind of crazy stuff. Again, just kind of giving a psychological profile on these types of people. Welcome back. Again, looking at some more of these tools that people use in their isolation and running away. And it's like some battle helmet, I'm guessing, that gets used along with this 2x4 weapon to fight off intruders and protect yourself from the government or coronavirus. And again, with this beautiful spot varnish on this portrait, guy, long beard, following step 1, change your appearance. Oh, and this is beautiful. So this is that cave house in Utah. And yeah, the helmet's pretty gnarly. And so he found these houses that were just built into the side of the mountain in Utah. And yeah, these pictures, especially, let me pull all the way back onto my couch here, are really insane. Again, this is my favorite photo book for a number of reasons, but one of them is that some of these pictures are just absolutely breathtaking. And a couple of you guys just joined us right now, but this is Broken Manual. It's supposed to be a book about the desire to get away, and it's about hermits and being isolated and quarantined from society. And this is a picture of a cave house. And then periodically throughout the book, you've got these different pages that are supposed to be like Xerox instructions made by the type of person that would want to run away. And this one, step 12, find a good view and bring along a ball. And then you've got this next one. It has, it's like all of these are different numbered steps on how to escape society and to become a hermit. Again, in this broken manual for broken men. And this one doesn't even have a numbered rule. It's just totally erased, or it looks like it's supposed to be erased. Again, just production value, very good, beautiful. And this one says, destroy all photographs. And just a little one sentence from it. It says, most people say that the one thing they'd retrieve from a burning house is their family album. But in this case, you are the arsonist. The one thing you want to burn is your past. And right to this beautiful portrait at night of this little light bulb, like in the middle of a forest, lighting the darkness for someone's little hideout that they've made, living in the forest. Again, this building this psychological portrait of these types of men that would want to become hermits and isolate, even without government quarantine, like we're all under. And then you've got the little brown mushroom, which we were talking about earlier. I don't know if you guys were with us, but little brown mushroom is an acronym that mushroom hunters use to identify like poisonous mushrooms that are very hard to distinguish whether or not they're poisonous. And little brown mushroom is also the name of the imprint that Alec Soth has as a publisher. And the same acronym he used to build a pseudonym, Lester B. Morrison, for co-authoring this book. And we're nearing the end of the book now. I know you guys have been hanging in for a long time. I've been really milking this, and glad for all of you guys that got to join in at the tail end of this. Welcome to the chat. We're looking at Broken Manual. It's about the idea of wanting to run away. It's a broken manual for broken men who want to escape. And being that we're already all isolating, I figured it made perfect sense to share this very rare book with everybody that I happen to have one of. And this is the Mesa Rat Shanty, New Mexico. And it's really cool. You got these dogs up on the roof here. This house out in the middle of nowhere. Beautiful black and white photo. And then just juxtaposed with this hyper crop of this hermit out in the woods. And again, if you're just joining me, this photographer shoots on 8x10 film. The film that he shot this picture with was likely like as big as this page. And so a gigantic image that he cropped right in to probably a space this big on the picture here. And then jumps around in scale. And again, he's got the capacity to print this the size of a billboard, and he prints it very tiny. And this is Merton's Tool Shed, St. Anne's. Just very small and lonely feeling. You got this gatefold, and this is just like 2008, 08, 21, 021. And this is out in Joshua Tree. And this, in the documentary about this project, they spend some time with this guy who's up here in the frame. And his story is basically so profound that the photographer, Alec Soth, can barely bring himself to take photos in this space. This guy's been living here in these rocks for 27 years. And he talks about being Buddhist and living off the lam, and how he's connected with horses and how much he loves horses. And he's got these horses and a couple donkeys, and he basically, the day that the photographer was with him, he's like, I can't afford to take care of these horses anymore. I can't get them food. And so he has to set them free. And while the photographer is with him, they drive out on this little truck. They've got the horses blindfolded, and they take them down the trail so they basically can't find their way home. And he sets the horses free out into the middle of the desert, presumably to die, or at least have a better chance of living than with him, because he definitely can't take care of them. And it's just absolutely heartbreaking. And so this is the only picture of the guy in the scenario that Alec basically, the photographer, said that he could bear to take. And it's what's kind of crazy about this whole project is that, again, he didn't seek to make beautiful photos necessarily. He didn't want to make a profound image. A lot of this project about people trying to escape and run away and not be seen it's both about what you see and what you don't see. Nearing the very end. Oh my gosh. So again, we've got some more like these Xerox pages that are like instructions on how to run away. Step 14, develop your hunting and gathering plan. Step 15, start a hat collection. And again, like, just to show the production value on this, it's like, this looks like it's handwritten. It looks like there's a smudge on the page here from the pencil. It's gorgeous. Just so much care into making this. And this photo, gorgeous, inside someone's like mobile home trailer. And again, with this beautiful spot varnish print, so that it's got a bit of gloss to the image and really just kind of glows on the page there. And as a photo nerd and someone that has a lot of photo books, that's like those types of little details. Amidst all of these things, those types of little details really stand out. And this is another one of those gatefolds. It's in Alabama. And you've got this guy. Same book. I've just been taking my time and really milking it and trying to go through everything. I guess I didn't understand how long this was going to take to do properly. So without like rushing through it. This is the second to last picture in the book from Alabama. This guy wearing camo, hiding, and he's got like his tomatoes that he grows. Again, you can kind of see it, I guess, like this. Hiding in his natural context. And then on the page next to it, you've got his little table. And again, the photographer was talking about he didn't really want to make impactful pictures. He just wanted to document what you see as much as what you don't see. And then you've got This is the last instruction on how to escape society. And it's a blank page, and it just says step 16, get a dog. And that's the end of the book. And so, I don't know, yeah, I really love this book. I think that it is sad, and it really humanizes, I guess, white American males for the most part, and the people that just feel so broken that they can't be a part of our society. And, this is a really interesting time to look at this work and think about these types of people. And I guess for a couple of you that just tuned in right now, I'll just flip through a couple pictures while I kind of wind down. But for the few of you guys that are here looking in the chat, are there any questions you have or anything that's interesting that you want to look at or ask about, talk about, yada, 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 before I log off this bitch? I've been live streaming for an hour now. Too much of my face on camera. Ryan, you can come look at this book whenever we are free from quarantine. You are welcome in Long Beach to come look at this. I can come down to Costa Mesa, but it's the worst place, so I'm not anxious to do it. But also, Ryan, I've got almost all of Alec's books right here, and so anytime that you want to come over, once we're allowed to co-visit, you're welcome to. Yeah. So on a little side note to, again, go super photo nerdy, that book, Broken Manual, the co-author was Lester B. Morrison, and that was this pseudonym that Alec made for this guy that ran away, basically this type of broken person. And this book was written as the sort of backstory to that character. And it was written by Brad Zeller, and it's got all of these interesting stories and building this narrative around this guy. And then, as far as I'm aware, Alec went and shot all of these pictures with disposable cameras to kind of build this character out more thoroughly as to who this broken man was that wrote this broken manual. And oh my God, it's such a sad book, and really beautiful in its own way, but totally photo nerd shit to go deeper in this. I don't know how many people even know about this, but yeah, it's called House of Coats, which references a hotel and out by an airport, and oof, sad. Welcome back, Rai Rai. I'm kind of at the point where I feel like I'm winding down. I have all these other books that I was thinking I might reference, but it just took so long to go through that one book that I feel like I'll probably just save these other books for another broadcast. Any other questions or comments from the couple of you guys that are hanging in there right now? And I know that some of you guys joined right at the end here. Hey, Tara, stoked that you made it for a second. This will be in my stories, and I'll probably try to do it on IGTV so that people can take a look at Broken Manual, super rare book that somehow I have a copy of. And then once we're done quarantining, I'd be super stoked to, if anybody wants to come look at my books and talk nerd with me, I'm game. Yeah. Dude, I'm pretty stoked on how this went too. It definitely took longer than I was expecting, but I feel pretty good about the shit I had to say. I don't feel like I was rambling like an idiot too much, but it's definitely hard with people coming and going, and it's like I'm about to log off on this whole thing and got my friends logging in to say hi. Nerd Talk is cool. I like Nerd Talk. Yeah, I really want to make a photo book of the month type thing in Long Beach. I'm really game on it. and like maybe even have the same posse of people be like a crit group or, you know, whatever. I think community is really important for all of us, especially as people that are creatives and like to make stuff, if it's music, photos, paintings, or whatever. Yeah, dude, anytime that you're down from Ventura and you want to come through, or, you know, I'll definitely keep you in the loop for this. And I mean, assuming that the grad school program goes off, we'll be doing this all the time anyway, but even outside of that, come through. Brian, I hope that you're doing good. I hope that you're hanging in there. I know that, like, you're going to be just like me, no work, just play within these four walls. Thanks everybody else that tuned in. I guess one last time, any questions, comments? I don't know, for the couple of you guys that are here. Again, some of you guys just logged in right as I'm about to sign off, but I just looked at all these I just looked at my favorite photo book and gave like a super gnarly review and broke down the whole thing. It's a rare book, and I've been live for an hour. It's too much of my face, too much of my voice. The next book that I'm probably going to do, because I think I'm going to do more of these, the next one's going to probably be a Todd Heido book. I have his most recent publication, Bright Black World, and that is a super beautiful book, and it's basically supposed to be his vision of a post-apocalypse, which again is super apropos for these dark times. And so I figure I'll probably do that one next. It's a much bigger book. It's like, I'll probably have to sit all the way back here to like open it up and show it, but that's fine. Yeah, I don't know if I'll do these daily, but I'm definitely down to do more of these. I enjoyed it. And all right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for joining us. Kaylee, thanks for joining in. I'm saying goodbye. Hope you guys all stay safe and taking this thing seriously, and we'll see you guys on the other side of the apocalypse. Nanu, nanu. Live long and prosper.